What is up, Facebook world? Jason here, coming to you Tuesday morning back in sunny Southern California. As you can see behind me, I wanted to take a quick moment and first and foremost, thank you. You know, my grandfather passing a week and a half ago has had a pouring of love and support from all of you, and we received calls and text messages and postcards, and at his funeral, flowers and visits and just love. And I want to say from the bottom of my heart and that of my family's, thank you. Thank you to all of those that showed your support. We really appreciate it. You know, while it was a sad time, it was also a moment to rejoice, right? A life well lived, a man of faith, a man of a lot of love. He lived almost 91 years, and he leaves a wonderful legacy. And we were able to share this weekend in a lot of stories and lessons. And it's one of those lessons that I brought back, and in my message to my own agents, I wanted to open this up and share with you, because I've been, since I got back yesterday, thinking about this topic, as I put in my Facebook post here, this topic of faith and fear. And it is a topic that is near and dear to me. You know, if you've been in classes with me before, you've heard me address this future pacing, right, of how we show up to the world from fear or from faith. And that's the lesson that I have, that I learned from my grandfather, that I thought is something that I could share with all of you. And this is a man that operated from faith, even in the face of imminent adversity. So for it, I'm going to tell you a quick story. And that is taking you back 2.5 years ago to when my own dad passed away. If you didn't know, Carmelo, my grandfather, is my dad's dad. And my dad's life, unfortunately, was cut short, right? He was only 64 years old when he passed, and that was tough. And it was tough for many reasons, including seeing my grandfather go through that, right? If you're anything like me, I hold this belief that a parent is just not supposed to see their child pass. And that was really tough to see my grandfather go through that. And yet, the story I have for you shows a lot of who my grandfather was. Here we were 2.5 years ago in the proverbial my dad's deathbed, and we were around him, myself, all of his family members, my grandfather, and this was 5 or 6 days before he passed. And he was aware. He was somewhat aware and responsive. So we were all taking our opportunities to say to Dad our love for him and share with him whatever words came to mind to let him know what we felt and hopefully ease his mind a little bit going through what he was going through, right? When it was Grandpa's turn, he spoke to Dad in a way I had not seen him speak to my dad before. And that was almost like a young father speaking to his child. And something that he said struck me. He said to my dad, "When you hear your name called, you come out running, that your loved ones will be there waiting for you." Now, some of you will recognize what he's referring to, right? In my family's faith, there's a belief that your name is written in God's book, and you are held in his memory. And so going into death here is not something to be afraid of, because your being in that book assures you that the next stage is safe, secure, and something to be calm around. And I got to tell you that him saying that to my dad when he did and how he did it had a way of calming the rest of us. It had a way of soothing, letting us be present to the moment as difficult as it was. And I'm certain that if it had an effect like that on us, it had a similar effect on my dad. And so it comes as no surprise to me that the same man that in this, facing this adversity, if you will, stood tall in his faith then, actually wrote a letter to the attendees of his funeral. I didn't know that he had done this. He wrote this days before he passed, with instructions for it to be read at his funeral. The topic was thank you, and words that were similar in fashion that were basically meant to calm the other person, letting them know that it was okay. And I got to tell you, my grandfather, seeing him face life from a space of faith has been something that's energized me. You know, I don't know about you if you understand this whole concept of faith and fear, but you know, they're both energies that we create around our expectation of the future. If the future is not what we want it to be, then we get anxious, right? We get upset or we get sad, and we're in this space of almost not being content, not happy, stressed out, fearful, because that energy, it could be consuming over the body, and it starts in the mind. And the opposite of that is, while it's still the future, and in many ways not controlled, I remember my coach told me years ago, he says, Jason, control is an illusion anyway. But when the person operates from faith, notice how it has in your own life, when you've operated from faith, it has a different effect. You could be in a space of being. You could be more present. You're more calm. And I'm going to suggest that you're at a better you. I think it's more godlike. And the purpose of my post is not to be spiritual, and though there's a lot of spirit that could be taken out of this faith conversation, right? And yet I wonder what would happen if you and I include myself, operated our lives from a space of faith. We taught our children to operate from faith, because, you know, faith, like fear, is taught. It's learned behavior. You're not born with either. We teach that to our kids. You ever been around a person that's constantly in fear? I mean, OMG, is that a tough energy to go with? And yet faith is so calming. So what is it that you expect and are entering into the future that if you operated from faith, you'd have a better being now? And those around you, like in my grandfather's example, under extreme tension, those around you are more calm as well. I wanted to share that with you because I tell you, I've come back with this renewed sense of operating from one over the other, because I realize it puts me in a stronger position. And I think that the world deserves that, as do my loved ones. Hey, I hope you're doing great. I hope that, or it is I should say, intention that this message impacts you as the lesson impacted me with my grandfather. And if it did, then I'm grateful as such. Again, thank you for all of those and all of your kind words. It's July. It's middle of the summer. If you're in real estate, let's get back to work. Thanks again. And hey, operate from faith, would you? It's a better spot. See you soon.